The 2012 NFL draft was insane. We were seeing trades left and right, but it was a great class. In the first 12 picks, only 4 players did not have a Pro Bowl career. Let's talk about 3 busts in those first 12 picks. Before we get into it, if you could just drop a like on this video and drop that subscribe if you want, that would mean so much to us. The first bust, and this one hurts me deeply as a Washington fan, is RG3. RG3 was a stud in his collegiate career with Baylor, where he won the 2011 Heisman Trophy. In all honesty, RG3 played a massive part in putting Baylor collegiate sports on the map. Washington saw RG3 as a future franchise quarterback, so they traded up to the 2nd overall pick with the Rams. They gave up a ton of draft capital to secure RG3. To move up 4 spots, they gave their 6th overall pick, another 2nd in 2012, and a 1st round pick in 2013 and 14. This is so difficult because when you look at RG3's rookie year, he was an absolute superstar. He threw for 3,200 yards while completing 65% of his passes, 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, while adding 815 yards on the ground with 7 touchdowns. Now, RG3 picked up a ton of knick-knack injuries throughout his rookie year, and he entered wildcard weekend versus the Seahawks wearing a brace on his right knee. A lot of people thought he shouldn't have played that game, however, he did, and in the 4th quarter sustained a non-contact injury where he tore his ACL and LCL in his right knee. Personally, I believe this injury is the reason why RG3 could never recover the form we saw in his rookie year. Not only did it cap his abilities physically on the field, but also mentally. That's a hard thing to come back from. The pressure on his shoulders to repeat and even be better than he was in 2012 was just too much. Again, in 2012, he looked like a star. He won the Rookie of the Year, and my goodness, a lot of teams were worried about Washington going forward. Eventually, he did lose his job to Kirk Cousins. That's a bit of foreshadowing. He's bounced around the league as a starter and a backup, and most recently was backing up Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. His career is likely coming to an end. With the 3rd overall pick, the Cleveland Browns selected Trent Richardson, running back out of Alabama. Now, the Browns had to trade up 1 spot in order to secure Trent Richardson, but it's interesting because the Vikings, who they traded with, already had Adrian Peterson. Maybe there was a team that was willing to trade with the Vikings, but the Browns gave up a lot of draft capital to move up 1 spot. They gave the Vikings their 4th overall pick, a 4th, a 5th, and a 7th round pick. Now, Trent Richardson put up stupid good numbers in college with Alabama. He finished his career with 3,800 plus total yards and 42 total touchdowns. He also won 2 national championships with the Crimson Tide and came into the draft as a top running back prospect. Now, for the Browns, they thought Richardson could be the guy to carry their offense for years to come, especially in a division where weather plays such a massive part in their run-heavy offensive schemes. He was compared a lot to Adrian Peterson coming in, but safe to say those comparisons were wrong. To be fair, Richardson did actually impress people in his rookie season with Cleveland. He came in the next year voted the 71st best player in the NFL by his peers. Before his sophomore season, he was actually traded to the Colts for a 1st round pick in 2014. His career continually went downhill from this moment onwards. He will always be known as a guy who just didn't have the vision for the NFL. The offensive line would open up a hole, he wouldn't see it, or there would be opportunities for him to cut outside and he wouldn't see it. His vision just was not there. It got so bad that it actually became a meme that was circling around the NFL. Richardson bounced around the league for quite a while, but was never really able to secure a starting job. With the 5th overall pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars selected Justin Blackmon, wide receiver out of Oklahoma State. This may be the most overlooked draft pick in the last 10 years. Now, the Jags did have to trade up with Tampa Bay to secure Blackmon, but they really only gave up a 4th round pick, so it wasn't that bad of a trade. In college, there's no denying that Blackmon was an absolute monster while he was catching passes from Brandon Whedon. For the Jags, it was simple. They thought Blackmon was the next future star at the position, and they needed to give Blaine Gabbert some help. Blackmon was getting comparisons to Andre Johnson, Anquan Bolden, and Terrell Owens. And honestly, this isn't a popular opinion, but the scouts weren't too far off. On the field, Blackmon showed big glimpses of superstar potential. There was a game in his rookie season versus the Texans where he put up a whopping 236 yards and a touchdown. He finished his rookie year leading all rookies in receptions and reception yards. And then in 2013, he put up 190 yards on 14 receptions versus the Denver Broncos. He had some absolutely dominant performances. So what was the problem? off the field issues. This is why NFL teams need to heavily consider this when they review a scouting report on a prospect. These issues can definitely derail a superstar's career. About a week after being drafted, Blackmon was arrested for driving under the influence. Then the next year in 2013, he was suspended 4 games for violating the NFL's substance abuse policy. He came back that season, and in the bye week, he was suspended again for the same thing, this time indefinitely. From here, it's really just a constant pattern of violating NFL policies and driving under the influence. He ended up only playing 20 total games in his career. It's unfortunate, but Blackmon was a bust, and it had nothing to do with his talent. While there were some pretty significant busts in the 2012 draft, there were also some pretty nice steals. Andrew Luck, RG3, Ryan Tannehill, Brandon Weeden, and Brock Osweiler were all drafted before Russell Wilson in the 3rd round. Wilson had a pretty crazy collegiate career. He started with NC State and played well, but he also had interest in a baseball career. That's an entirely different story though. Eventually in 2011, he transferred to Wisconsin, where he became a collegiate star. He put up 3,100 passing yards, 33 touchdowns with only 4 interceptions that year. He also ran pretty well on the ground and put up 6 touchdowns. Wilson's year at Wisconsin had his draft stock rising, but maybe not as high as it should have. So why was he so overlooked? Well, there's only one reason, and it's his height. He was officially measured at 5 foot 10 inches, and most scouts said he would have been the first overall pick if it wasn't for his height. When the Seahawks selected Wilson in the 3rd round, they received harsh criticism from many because they had just signed free agent quarterback Matt Flynn from the Packers to a 3-year deal. However, Wilson actually won the starting job in preseason, and he started his entire rookie year. We all know of his success now. He's an 8-time Pro Bowler. He won Super Bowl 48, should have won Super Bowl 49 if they just ran the ball. He's a household superstar name, and he's got a great chance to win more Super Bowls in his career. T.Y. Hilton was taken at the end of the 3rd round by the Indianapolis Colts. 12 wide receivers were taken before T.Y. Hilton. 12. Now, for college, T.Y. actually got a lot of interest from some big name schools. Ole Miss, West Virginia, Florida, and FIU were all super interested. The night before National Signing Day, he placed an FIU hat and a West Virginia hat in front of his baby son. His son, 8 times in a row, chose the FIU hat, and that was actually the reason why he chose to go to FIU. It's hilarious, but it actually worked out really well for Hilton, as he ended up being an FIU all-time great. At FIU, he set career records for receptions, yards, and touchdowns. This was really just the perfect pick for the Indianapolis Colts here, because they just selected Andrew Luck, and these two just became best friends on and off the field. T.Y. quickly became Luck's favorite target over Colts legend Reggie Wayne. Hilton made 4 Pro Bowls, led the NFL in receiving yards in 2016, and has just re-signed a 1-year deal with the Colts. Not bad for a 3rd round pick who let his baby son decide his fate. In the 4th round, Washington selected Kirk Cousins, quarterback out of Michigan State. This pick was widely criticized by almost everyone. Washington had just given up their entire future for RG3, and many believe that they should have used that pick to fill other positional needs. Kirk had a really solid career at Michigan State, where he put up 9,000 plus passing yards and 66 touchdowns. Cousins was really drafted as an insurance policy for Washington in case RG3 was to get injured, and he did. So when you look back, they kind of didn't make a bad move here. Kirk's most famous game came versus the Bucks in Week 7 of 2015, where he led the team to a comeback win after being down 24-0. He stormed to the locker room screaming, "Dad, you like that?" Cousins has made 2 Pro Bowls and is currently the starter for the Minnesota Vikings. 3 quick honorable mentions as steals in this draft as well. The Eagles selected Nick Foles in the 3rd round, and what a pick by the Eagles, because he's an absolute legend for this team. Famous for the Philly special and becoming Super Bowl 52 MVP. Lamar Miller was drafted by the Dolphins in the 4th round and had a really solid career with both the Dolphins and the Texans. And lastly, Alfred Morris was taken in the 6th round by Washington. He put up big numbers in his early years with Washington and has served as a really good backup since then. The NFL draft is such a special time because no matter who your team is, there's always hope. You could have just drafted the greatest player in the history of your team, but also there's a little bit of worry that maybe you reach for a player. There's always busts, there's always steals, but we can't get enough of it. Yo, what's good? Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the best of fantasy football. We got some more videos as well if you're feeling like it. And lastly, don't forget that you can support us and unlock exclusive content by signing up to our Patreon, patreon.com/fantasylandfam.